Look, it's not that I'm late. It's just that I'm unprofessional. Because the way to do professional streaming and be on time, um, you gotta pick one of these two options, right? Like there's two ways of doing it. The first way of doing it is to hire a team. So you got like a studio guy, you got an editor, you got like what Tim Pool is doing, and they make sure that before the stream everything is in order because most of the time you will see that something just doesn't work, like the camera doesn't turn on. There's an update that's required, right? So if you have like more people to do the prep work, it's a lot easier than just being one guy. Okay, so that's like the first way of doing it, like hire a team. Unfortunately, I don't make enough in super chats, Hong McGee, in order to afford that. So the second way of doing it and be professional is to actually have a soundtrack. You know, like VTubers are doing, like Pippa is doing. Like Pippa says she's going to be on the clock, right? She's going to be at, I don't know, like when she's streaming, like 2 p.m., whatever. And then she puts some music, which can last for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, in which she does all the shit that she needs to do. So I guess I need to spend some money on streaming assets. This is what I understand, right? And then I get to put music before like the stream goes. And I let you guys with the song while I do the stuff in my house. And then when everything is finished, when I see, okay, so the camera is good, everything checks out. And I also need two monitors. Like the wasteful capitalism kicks in. I do thank you for the $5, McGee. I do appreciate it. V, I only just got notification that I'm live. Yes, there's a grand arching conspiracy at YouTube. I would say it's Susan Wojcicki, but I think she left. Although, you know what? Like, Susan Wojcicki actually didn't leave. She's still there. She's still CEO. It's just like, all of it, it's a front in order to make me believe that she's gone so I can let my guard down so that she can suppress my stream and not tell people that I'm live. Yeah, I don't need the second monitor. You know what I thought about it? Like, I genuinely do not need the second monitor. But what I do need, however, is a second phone. Because I'm using the phone as a camera. So either I buy an actual webcam, which is a little bit wasteful given the fact that I got my phone in order to do VTubing. Or I get a second phone and then I have like the chat on my second monitor, which is going to be the phone or an iPad. And that's that. Who has got into the shadows? Oh, Susan Wojcicki. Yeah. It's so bizarre, isn't it? Like, all of a sudden, I don't know how many of you remember, but I was definitely concerned because 3 or 4 major CEOs came up at the same time saying that, you know what? We're quit. It's like, why are you quitting? It's a profitable company. What's happening? And it was like, it wasn't just like the CEO of YouTube. It was many other CEOs. I think even the one on Twitch. And they all of a sudden just come out and like, yeah, we're quitting. Like, why? Did something bad happen? Oh yeah, Jack Dorsey, you know, was in that same time. I can literally send you a monitor. I'll pay duty. It's not about the fact that it's like I'm against the idea. It's not that I can't afford one. It's that, okay, I need another electric socket. I already have like 6 that are filled. I need more space on my desk. I don't have that big of a desk, by the way. So I will have to buy a desk. I have to rearrange my room. No. I do appreciate it though. I do appreciate it. Right, so let's talk a little bit about Elon Musk. Elon Musk has yet again reached the normies. This is why I noticed that right-wingers just do not know how to take W's, right? Like the ideology of being a right-winger means that you do not know how to take a win. The level of... Okay, let me tell you the major difference between the left and the right, okay? The left, you have... queers for Palestine. Okay, that's what you get on the left. Queers for Palestine. Do you find a problem with that statement? Like, my problem with that statement is that I don't think any of those people would be safe if they actually were to travel to Palestine, right? Because the Palestinian Authority is not very friendly towards queers. So it's like a one-way street support. You're giving a lot, but you're not giving anything back. That's the issue that I would have with it. Right? So on the left, you have queers for Palestine. I don't think I need to go any further. That is like just one sentence. You understand everything that is to know about leftist ideology. Meanwhile, on the right, oh, I don't like Elon Musk. Oh, because he said this. He said this in an interview. He said that he did this once. He did this. I don't like him. Everything that he does is bad. Ben Shapiro, I don't like him. He did this. He said such and such in an interview. He said such and such, and I don't like him. Steven Crowder, hate him. I can't stand the guy. And I'm like, okay. On the left, you literally have people that are like queers for Palestine. Like they genuinely do not care about any of those contradictions. All they know is that, okay, this pushes the left-leaning agenda. Like, this pushes our ideology. We're going to support it. On the right, you have, okay, this person is actually convincing people to join the ideology, but he's not perfect. He's not Jesus fucking Christ, and therefore I will support him. Thank you so much, SRC Market, but I will do a dilapidation of funds, is it called? Like when you get money for something, but you use it for something else. I'm sure there's a name for it. I'll do that. Ben is not likable. I'm not saying that you should like him. That's not my point. But my point is, like, when you consider yourself like a right-wing activist, and you're bitching about Ben Shapiro more than you're bitching about AOC, I think like you're using a lot of energy directed to the... I'm not saying you shouldn't bitch about Ben Shapiro, heaven forbid. Bitch about him all you want. But you should bitch more about the leftist, okay? Like that's how it should be on the right. Like after you bitch for like 30 minutes about the leftist, you can bitch 10 minutes about the right-winger. How about that? No, seriously now. Like think about it from this point of view. How many times do you hear leftists bitch about each other? Like, how many times do you see AOC denouncing another leftist? How many times is AOC denouncing Nancy Pelosi? I'm not saying she isn't, but she's denouncing right-wingers far more, isn't she? Like she thinks that Ted Cruz is the Hasashin, and the Hasashin is coming. Like, she's creating this beautiful narrative, right? That's why they're winning, unironically, right? Just fucking hell. Right-wing views center around property. No, they did. Like George W. Bush, when he was in power, he had those Chad right-wing bigots. My fucking God. They were bigoted to the extreme. You went to one of those Chad right-wing bigots waving that American Patriot flag, probably had like the underwear with the hawk on, and he was like, you know, you tell me like, oh, why are you going into Iraq? There's no weapons of mass destruction. Oh, you're anti-patriot. You're anti-American. You're a filthy communist, aren't you? Let me find out where you work and I will phone your boss. I will write a letter of concern. You know, like, what are those people? What are those people? It's like, oh, right wing is about property. Yeah. They won because they control institutions. Yes, they had the money. Like, literally, they're pouring money into things. We don't have right-wingers that pour money into things. And I noticed that when left-wingers pour money into things, they usually, like, just pour money and not care what happens with it. Unironically, like, left-wingers, they're going to donate shit to, like, 5 or 6 different people and just hope that one of them is successful. Meanwhile, right-wingers, they donate money to one person and then they supervise. It's like, okay, but, like, how many people did you persuade? What happened with my money? Which, by the way, like, it's understandable, but it's not as effective. Like, where is our left-wing press? You know, like, right-wing press? You know, the rich people that are supporting activists. And then people are like Pikachu-faced that, oh, well, right-wing ideology isn't catching on. Well, it's not catching on because you're not funding it. Ben Shapiro is one of the few that is funding it. Unfortunately, Ben Shapiro, I understand, you know, he's got his own ideology and it's not very popular with most people on the right due to it. It's understandable, you know, due to the ethnicity and, right? Okay, fine. But, like, where are the others? I'm not saying, like, well, okay, like, people complain about Ben Shapiro. Fine, yeah, but where are the others? I mean, you look on the left, there are so many rich people that just donate money, not just to journalists, but to social media, to various causes, to politicians. Thank you, Sirio, for the gift. We did a political simulation and we were split in 3 parties. We were told that even if you agree with the other side, you will still say that you disagree and agree with your side no matter what. See, I don't think that is the case. I have seen that during the Trump administration, like, there were people that punished Trump, for example, when... Oh yeah, when he decided to attack Syria, if you guys remember, like there was that red line that was crossed, right? Like Bashar al-Assad, all of a sudden, realizing that he is winning, he decided to use chemical weapons to justify the Americans coming in. Do you guys remember that? And it was like the coalition of the willing, part 2. It was France, Great Britain, and the United States. They went in. And I think like they launched some missiles or some shit. They didn't do much damage. It was a show of force. But the idea was that people that voted for Trump were against Trump. They were saying like, no, America first. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you... Is Syria part of America? No. So then why the fuck are you there? Get the fuck out. Right? So like, realistically speaking, I did see people holding their party to their own account. And this is happening now with the left. With the Israel-Palestine thing. Like, the left is divided on the issue. So it's not really like every single time it's like, oh, my party good no matter what. There is a little bit of leeway there. There is a little bit of wiggle room. Where's my coffee? Thank you, Syria. You don't have to give more. This stream is for free. If you like it, then you give. If you don't have money, you don't have to. I'm not going to say, oh my god, you do not have $28 for cookies? You cannot afford cookies at $28? Look, if you're broke, just say so, boy. It sounds cringe when a man says it, doesn't it? And to be honest, it sounded cringe when she said it. Hi V, hope your day was good. Enjoy the Dodgers drive. Wish you could play with us. Maybe when I finish my game, I will start a campaign in your universe. How about that, huh? I will have to read on the comics. And then see you spurg out. When it's like, no, this is not fair. This is not how it goes. You're not making it. I wonder, like, if that's not the most annoying thing, right? Like, you make a universe for an IP. And then, like, people play a board game in your IP. And you're seeing them. And it's like, no, that's not correct. That's not correct. That's not how. I go like that when someone writes lore for my universe. It's annoying. V, the right usually gets support, and then they say something dumb that thanks whatever popularity they had, and also the left wing has the blessings of the government, meaning infinite money. It's more like, okay, so it's not really fair to characterize it like this. The mainstream media, overwhelmingly, with few exceptions, is sympathetic to the left. So they are the ones that deliver the message from the politician to the people. Like perfect example, you have with Heels versus Babyface, right? So Heels versus Babyface complains about pronouns in video games. Now, 2 years ago, everyone was mocking the idea. Well, I think it was like Games Go Quick that made the pronouns thing a thing. Everyone was making fun of it, right? But then Heel versus Babyface in like a 3-hour segment, he makes a little rant, which was for entertainment, and everyone is shocking. Everyone, oh my god, look what they did. Look how crazy. It's just pronouns, bro. Why are we... But meanwhile, when you have the left harassing VTubers, which, by the way, are actual women that the left claims to care about, no articles in the media, Kotaku doesn't write anything, Polygon doesn't write anything, no condemnation, just crickets. In fact, it didn't even happen. Have you considered merch could help fund your game? It's a little bit dangerous due to the nature of the game. Social media doesn't really like anything affiliated. It's like it's radioactive. Do not touch. But maybe I will do some merch. I do not know. I will see how the game does first. I do not want to overthink it. Like first I want to cross the finish line with the game. And after that I will consider merchandise and stuff. V, I am a centrist. I have to hear hate from far left and far right. I know how you feel. It's like people like, what is a centrist? What is offensive? It's when people on the right hate you for not being right-wing enough, and people on the left hate you for not being left enough. It used to be funny when I would go to Twitter before Elon Musk. People there, they called me a Nazi. And when I went to YouTube, people here called me a leftist. And I was like, well, there you go. It means that I am equally balanced in all things. So let's talk about Russia. Mother Russia is doing le horror. So Russia Supreme Court. I mean, this is all over the news, by the way. You know, like this is extra. Read all about it. I mean, it's almost like it's a tragedy. But then again, it's a tragedy if you don't understand Eastern Europe. If you understand Eastern Europe, then it's like, I mean, it's Russia, right? It's kind of like telling me that Qatar or Saudi Arabia has banned alcohol. I'm like, well, wasn't it banned already? I mean, it's Qatar, right? But again, you know, like, people on the left are really detached from anything that goes outside of the United States, I guess. And even in the United States, they're completely detached from anything that happens outside of a city, I would suppose, is the correct way of putting it. Like, they live in their cities and they do not understand that there is another world with different people, different cultures, different way of thinking, diversity. No. Everything is America. Speaking of merchandise, I cannot say in front of a group of right-wingers, American Outlier, that I like the Dakimakura, okay? I have a wife. The drawing was nice, but I do not like Dakimakuras. I am a grown-ass man. Jesus. I want a Dakimakura for Christmas. A Rainbow Dash only, no other will do. V. You could do V merch instead of Succubus merch. Sell Racismus. With the Romanian accounting, Romanian tax man. I will look into it. Anyway, 92% of people in Russia are against the LGBT agenda. So when you say LGBT agenda, you mean wokeness, right? Like, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about the academia, the queer theory. And I made a video, haven't released it on my main channel, okay? After World War II, people came to the realization, and this was universally agreed, like you didn't have much opposition to it, right? Like, after World War II, most people agreed that judging someone based on their identity is wrong. Because that person cannot change their identity, right? So if you're being judged because you're a cisgender straight white man, not only is it insulting because it robs from your individuality, it robs from your person, your way of being, right? And even then, it's like, if you can't even take an admittance exam in order to get a position, so you can't even go to a job interview, they don't even give you the chance to prove yourself. It's not a nice place to live like that, right? So people decided that, okay, well, based on identity, we're not going to judge people, right? You're going to judge them based on the content of their character. But then you have, in the bowels of the academia, a certain Marxist professor that thought, but what if we ascribe politics to the identity? So now we make it political. Like, just by existing, just by being born, you become political. And the way they do it is, you notice with Carlos Maza, which is famous for starting the apocalypse on YouTube. Carlos Maza said, be gay, do socialism. Right? So he is ascribing the political ideology to the fact that you have the identity of being gay. So the reason they do this is that if you try to be against socialism, well, now you're against the identity and you're violating their human rights. Another great example of this is queer theory. Like, the entire queer theory ideology is built around this. Queer theory dictates that the country you're in is filled with systemic racism, xenophobism, transphobism, or the bigotrism, right? So basically, they're trying to imply that if you want to support queer people, you have to also support these politics, and you have to believe in the grand arching conspiracy that in your country there is the looming patriarchy, the cisgender heteronormative men that are out there in order to oppress their daughters and their wives, and all the fathers join together with the brothers and the sons without knowing and communicating with each other. They cause the racism. And, you know, it's like, if you actually take a step back and genuinely think what they are saying, it's kind of like Scientology talking about Xeno. I mean, it's, they talk about how conspiracy theories are bad and whatnot, but the left promotes some of the most batshit crazy conspiracy theories that I have ever heard of. I would rather believe the stuff about Xeno because I have no evidence. Like, maybe before everyone was born, maybe you did actually have like some interplanetary war, and I suppose it's definitely more plausible than the fact that all the men are collaborating with each other without even knowing or realizing, but by having like these subconscious biases, these ultra super progressive fetal levels, and we're out there to subjugate others. It's like, I want a hoodie that has your troll avatar yelling fratty and out of touch. Yeah, but like, how many people would get it? They would probably get it though, because it's, that's actually really good. Maybe I'll have one of my succubis saying that. I'll have Lilith saying that. V, you have two big reasons why you can convince that priest. I enjoyed the D&D sessions. Yeah, but like, that's the thing with Sargon, like, he doesn't really take into account the fact that you are actually playing a hot woman. Like, it's kind of like playing Baldur's Gate 3 with him, where the gender and the race of the character doesn't really matter. It's more like you're it's also the fact that I'm playing with people that do not roleplay, right? So I'm not trying to roleplay that much myself. Because Arch isn't roleplay. I mean, they are kind of roleplaying in a little bit, but they're not doing voices. They're not trying to have a different personality. They're not using the names of the characters. They're not actually trying to engage in a dialogue. It's fine, like different roleplay sessions have like different ways of doing things. But yeah, I do not expect like a priest to look at my character and actually consider that they're talking to a hot elvish sorceress. Sucks STL that you can buy and print. Zero! I'm not doing merchandise because of Romanian taxes, first and foremost. Let me finish the game. Once I finish the game, I will look at it. Arch is role-playing well. Have you seen him GM? Like, that's Arch role-playing. Like, this is him half-assing it. Like, when Arch role-plays, he actually does a fantastic job. But you need actual people that want to roleplay. This is not it. Roleplaying requires imagination. Kinda, I guess. I suppose it would require that you would actually use the person's character names. Play as Harley Quinn, then Sargon will listen. Keep putting points in your charisma. At some point, you'll have to say, fine, you just got a +10. It's also the fact that we're not using inspiration dice. So inspiration dice are things that allow you to reroll. Like, having a board game where you can't reroll is very uninteresting. Like, if you're going to do a stealth check, right? And you're in a room like Dev was, and he does like 4 or 5 different stealth checks in order to try and steal something, and he succeeds all 5 stealth checks, and then he fails the last one. I mean, is it fair? Like, he got 5 successes and he gets 1 failure. Like, the failure overrides all the successes? Like, that's the problem. Normally you should be able to reroll. You should be able to have inspiration, and you use those inspiration points in order to reroll the dice. Because even if you spec and you're like a level 20 rogue, and you're fully spec'd in stealth, eventually you're going to miss. Like, you're going to land the failure. No, it's not that it's not fun or life isn't fair. It's just that it promotes people to play incredibly safe. Like, I, for instance, have a spell that would allow me to disguise myself as any person. So I could literally disguise myself as the priest and bullshit one of his companions, like one of the altar boys, to give me the book. But if I do a bad roll, then the disguise doesn't work, right? So If I was to have reroll ability, I would be able to do it. But since I don't, it is what it is. Anyway. Chotomate. So in Mother Russia, in Estonia, they outlawed LGBT activism. And that's the thing, right? Like, it's being reported as if they outlawed being gay. And the interesting thing is that I have seen people on Twitter that legitimately say this. They believe that, well, of course, like, if you outlaw the activism, you outlaw gay people. But the reality is that to outlaw gay people, like, we have examples of that. The Soviet Union, almost every single communist nation on the face of the earth. This is why it's absolutely hilarious when you see gay people that have, like, a Che Guevara t-shirt. It's like seeing Jewish people with a Hitler Youth t-shirt. I'm not even kidding. Like, the comparison is very apt. Doesn't make any fucking sense. I don't get it. But it is what it is. And then you have the Middle East. And by outlawed in the Soviet Union, you would go to jail. Like, there were writers, political activists, politicians, members of the Communist Party that were imprisoned because they were found out to be gay. Okay? Like, that is what it means to outlaw LGBT. I actually had a game where I failed a stealth roll, a human fighter, and I fell into a pile of trash, but passed a roll pretending to be a cat meowing. Yeah, it depends on the GM, like, if they're going to allow you or how much they want to push it. Yeah, it is queer for Palestine vibe, right? Like, it's exactly that. Like, they genuinely do not understand the world. They do not understand the history of the world. And this is why they can claim that America is systemically racist and oppressive. It's because they genuinely do not understand what a systemically racist and oppressive country even looks like. And when they compare America, they compare it to the fucking ideal. And the ideal doesn't exist, okay? Like, the utopia doesn't exist. They're basically saying, well, it's not perfect. And unironically, it's not, because nothing is perfect. Everything that humankind makes has flaws. So, they compare it to the perfection that is the United States, right? So they compare the United States to perfection, but they don't compare it to other countries. They literally do not know what a systemically racist, oppressive thing is. So this is why they are making these claims. So, ruling in response to a lawsuit filed by the Justice Ministry, the court labeled what the suit called the LGBTQ movement operating in Russia as an extremist organization and banned it. The ruling is the latest step in a decade-long crackdown on LGBTQ rights in Russia under President Vladimir Putin, who has empathized traditional family values during his 24 years of power. But again, like, they do not say that this is what the Russian people unironically want. Like all polls and surveys, and I do not think that the government has any interest in fidgeting them. Like, you can't want democracy, and then when the democratic people are choosing something you don't like, you can't get upset about it. Like, either you want democracy or you want authoritarianism. Like, either are fine, but, like, once you choose one, like, if that's your interest, it's going to come with negatives. Democracy has negatives. Freedom is a two-edged blade. Authoritarianism has negatives as well. Unironically, there are people who do like authoritarianism. I mean, living in a country that has order, and you're told what your place in life is, you're told what to do, you're told what to think. Some people are ironically like that. You know, like, we like to think that because we like liberty, a place like the Middle East where they have Sharia law and stuff is a nightmarish place. But the reality is that, no, like, some people actually enjoy it. In fact, they enjoy it so much that when you give them democracy, they vote for Sharia. Like, they enjoy that way of life. They enjoy that lifestyle. They're happy with it. You can't force them to enjoy a different one. Now, of course, there are people there that do not like it. You know, individuals exist. Like, there are individuals in a democracy that don't like it. There are individuals in a dictatorship that don't like it. But the reality that Americans do not want to even accept is that there are people who do not want democracy. And ironically, they just do not want it. When you give them democracy, they vote for Hamas. And they're like, right? So like, what do? Do you force them to be democratic? the solution. Thursday closed-door hearing lasted for 4 hours. No one besides the Justice Ministry representatives were allowed in, and there was no defendant. Journalists were taken into the courtroom only for the reading of the verdict. Apparently, one of the people who wore a face mask, apparently for health reasons. The case was classified that the ministry didn't disclose any evidence, saying only that the authorities had identified signs and manifestations of an extreme nature. The thing that I love the most about this, unironically, is that it's literally how a social media company behaves. Like, you have all of these activists and people in the West looking at it and they're criticizing it and they're like, oh my god, the tyranny. And the thing is, I agree with them. A government shouldn't behave this way. But you know what? This is literally how a social media company behaves. This is how the bank, which deplatformed Nigel Farage, behaves. And you can say, well, yeah, but like, that's a private business, blah, blah, blah. No, it's a fucking bank, okay? In an era where you want only digital, only cash. In an era where you're advocating for CBDC, you're advocating for stores that refuse to take cash, they only want electronic payments, and you're giving this much power to a private company to the point where it can pretty much like fuck up someone's life as just as bad as if they went to prison. I mean, no, seriously, like imagine, just imagine for a second. You live in a society where all payments are done by credit card. Like you do not have cash. They don't exist, okay? Like it's not in circulation. No one has cash. You only have your credit card, right? Imagine that. Now imagine that the bank, or well, banks, they say they're not going to do business with you. And they're private companies, they can do it. Like there's no lawsuit, there's no court, you don't get to preside your evidence, you don't get to do anything. Okay, how do you live in that society? Again, like everything is done electronically. You cannot buy something without a credit card. If the bank says they're not going to do business with you, how are you going to find... Which is better, actually, to go to prison or to be deplatformed? Because in that society, like we're not talking about this one, we're talking about that society, it's actually better to go to prison. Because when you go to prison, you present your case, you get to see the evidence against you, you try to defend yourself, and then when you go to prison, you go for like 5 years, 10 years, whatever, but when you come out, you manage to resume your life. If you're deplatformed by an institution, almost every single time it's for life. Like, that is the worst thing ever. They do not even allow you. Like if PayPal deplatforms you, you're never allowed to make another PayPal account. In some cases, your family members aren't allowed to make PayPal account. Hey V, can you explain the ending you add to words like sexismus and racismus? I watched so many of your videos, I've begun saying them like in real life. It's from German. Okay, like most of this... most of these talking points, in fact, the ideology itself has its roots in the Frankfurt School, right? So like all of this ideology with racism and shit, like the woke ideology, basically, it's got its roots in the Frankfurt School, and they were German. It's in the name. It's Frankfurt. So in Germany, it's Rassismus. Yeah. In French, it's like furculition, right? So you would add sion, or racismission, transmophobismission, you know, like that. Yeah, the U.S. took them, and they, I think they went to the Colorado or Columbia University. Ubermenschen is a better phrase. No, it's got nothing to do with it. The almighty AI doesn't recognize the words. It's fine. You can talk about racism on YouTube, as long as you condemn it. I disavow. I condemn. By the way, the thing with disavowing, it's such gross, isn't it? Right? Like every single time Elon Musk farts, you're going to see like 100 microphones stuffed into the face of the Florida lawmaker, and he's going to be asked like, "Do you disavow? Do you disavow?" Like, unironically, imagine if, like, I don't know, something bad was to happen in the world. Let's say there's a rape or some shit, and a lot of microphones are being placed in front of AOC, and she's like, "Do you disavow? Do you agree? Do you?" I mean, you had like that trans shooter, right? That went out into a kindergarten, right? Imagine if AOC was that, like, do you disavow? Do you agree with this? Do you disavow? Well, yeah, like, why is it that leftists do this, right? Like, every single time you have, like, a crime or something that's an abuse of power, a lot of right-wingers are asked, you know, they're going to DeSantis, they're going to Trump. It's like, oh, but do you stand for this? Do you allow? Do you... But they never do that to the left. Interesting. He had a debate with Gavin Newsom. I need to watch that. Gavin Newsom unironically debates. Like he actually created an account on Truth Social to debate. Like, Gavin Newsom, he is one of the few that genuinely wants to debate. I do think that Gavin Newsom may actually run for the next presidential election. Like, I do not think the Democrats are going to choose Joe Biden. And the reason for it, like, I have seen anti-Trumpers, like actors, that are like, well, actually, you know what? Pig Dick Donald Trump is back on the table. What was his name? He said that, right? Like, that's the quote. He said that, and it's like, okay, he's going to vote for Donald Trump now, and he was a never Trumper, like some comedian. And now I saw Chris Cuomo. Chris fucking Cuomo is considering to vote for Donald Trump, and I'm like, okay, they're not going to go with Joe Biden, because basically what it is, it sounds as if they're you know, endorsing Trump, but they're not. They're basically saying that Joe Biden is such a weak president that they would not vote for him. So basically what they're trying to say is that please choose someone else. So we may see Michelle Obama, we may see Gavin Newsom, and we may see Oprah. Like one of these three. I think it's going to be Gavin Newsom. But it's very close to Michelle Obama. So like one of these two are probably going to be on the ballot. Mr. Johnny Somali whining about police inspecting his bike and trying to cry racismus. Are we talking about him or someone else? This guy doesn't get it either. Or he has to comply and respect the search, or don't go back to Japan, is notorious for randomly inspecting foreigners. Yes, okay, so, in Japan, you have to have your passport with you at all fucking times. And if you even see a police officer and you make eye contact with him, he's going to harass you. Why is that a thing? Because new police officers are encouraged to harass foreigners so that they get used to talking to people. It sounds silly, I know, but like literally it's what it is, and they're very polite about it. Like they're not being assholes, they're not being anything, right? Like the law is that if you're a foreigner in Japan, you need to have your passport with you. So the police officer, when he sees you, is going to be like, excuse me, sir. It's going to be like in Japanese, choto mate, whatever, mate kumasai. And they're going to want to see your papers. Why? Because you chose to fucking go there, that's why. Don't like it, don't fucking go there. Like, no one forced you, right? Like, the borders of the Empire of the Rising Sun haven't snuck up on you. You didn't wake up one day and you were in Japan. No, like, you chose. And if you chose to go there, you should have read on the customs. You can find this up on the internet. This is not something that is niche, unknowable, a variable that you couldn't consider. No, like, when you go to Japan, yes, if you look like a foreigner, whether you're white, black, Mexican, Asian, if you're not, like, if you're anything but Japanese looking, the police officer is going to come up and they're going to ask you for your passport. They do this because it trains them to talk with the public, right? Like, imagine you're a police officer and you have to walk up to a stranger and ask him for his papers, have a conversation with him. It's, you know, the first time you do it, it's a little bit difficult. Like, eventually you're going to start knowing how to do it. But, like, the first few times until you break the ice, right? So they're encouraged to go with they don't expect that you're not going to comply. They don't expect that you're not going to have everything in order. They're actually very polite. If you don't have your papers, they're going to, like probably not even give you a citation. They're going to try to work it out. But if you're going to assume malice because of your American mindset, which you couldn't leave it at the fucking door, well, that's on you, right? And if you're going to start shit with the police officers in Japan, you're going to be in it for a world of nightmare. Because if you think like what Romania did to Andrew Tate was unreasonable, what the police do to Japanese people who misbehave is even more unreasonable. Like, take into account that Japanese police officers have a 98% conviction rate, okay? Like, if they start fucking with you, it's very unlikely that you're going to come up the other way clean. So anyway, right, like, the idea that someone frisking you is an affront to your person is mind-boggling to me. I genuinely, like, do not understand it. Like, maybe someone can explain. When I go to the airport in Romania, do you know what they did? They frisked me. Do you know what they did to my wife? They frisked her. So fucking what? But I saw like a CNN lady. She was like this journalist. She was literally pissing her eyes because like they patted her down at the airport. It's almost like, oh my god, you're treating me like a peasant. Do you not know who I am? I am part of the aristocracy. I am the clergy. I work hand in hand with the government. Wait until Obama hears about this. It's like, dude, the fuck? Just sit there, get patted down, and then fucking move on. Holy shit, is it so hard? If I got it during COVID, like when I went to the fucking mall during the pandemic, with the same policies that the left was insisting, that I had to show my QR fucking code to the waiter to sit down at a table. And I did that. Why can't you? Huh? What do I have that you don't? Don't really behave as you are in a foreign country. Japan has no self-defense laws and very loosely-goosey freedom of speech. Yeah, again, when you go to a foreign country, it's like going to someone else's house, right? Like, I do not go to American Outlier's house to start shit with his wife. I do not go to his house in order to disrespect his traditions. If the man tells me, I want you to put these socks when you come into my house, I put those fucking socks if I want to come to his house. Because it's his fucking house, right? I do not go to his house to change the rules. I do not go to his house to talk with his wife, to negotiate. It's like how things should be set in the fridge. Sarah, you said you don't have money, and yet. Last one tonight, probably. Stop watching or I'll stop the stream. No, seriously, I feel bad. I don't want people to donate more than they have. I have a request for some of the chats from me today. I'd like you to take your wife out to a nice restaurant, a cinema, and something. Well, thank you. You know what? I appreciate it. This money is going to come around Christmas, so I'm actually going to do that. I love taking people out to restaurants on Christmas. Here's the thing, like in Romania, we had this tradition. It's called Christmas caroling. You have it in the US as well, but when you go to Christmas caroling, you actually get money. It's kind of like trick-or-treating, but you get cash instead of candy. More sensible people for sensible times. So as a kid, it was the only time that I actually did have my money, because my parents didn't give me pocket money. So like once a year, I actually had cash. And that's when I wanted to go out and have a pizza. But my mom was like, how can you have a pizza when there is so much food in the refrigerator? So I ever since I became an independent person, these childhood traumas have reflected on me. And every single time it's Christmas, it's time to go to the restaurant. Caroling is a British thing too. Maybe, but do you actually get do you actually get what is it called, money for doing it? Did I misread the super chat? So last one tonight probably. I have a request for some of the chats from me today. I'd like you to take your wife out to a nice restaurant or cinema or something. I didn't misread. Thank you for all the content. Thank you for the money, Sarah. I appreciate it. No, unironically. Merry Christmas and Happy Christmas to you, Brits. Wait, is it Christmas in Britain? Nani? You tip carolers. Yes, you literally have to tip carolers. It's the tradition. Which gives bad incentives, bad actors. You get like the same Christmas caroler on repeat with people that put no soul and heart in it. But to be honest, when I was a kid, I didn't put that much soul and heart in it either. I just wanted to get paid. Which is kind of nice, like you're giving money to kids at the end of the day. And again, like these are children that normally do not have money from their parents. So they use the money to buy some sweets. It's good. You give money to the kids in your neighborhood. Great. What's so bad in that? The downside is that you have to listen to their horrible singing. That cannot be fixed. Right. So we talked about Mother Russia. We discussed about Elon Musk yet. Let's see what else we can talk about. Oh, I saw, like, okay, do you guys like gender swapping? Do you guys like it when a male character from a TV show or a video game or a movie is being gender swapped? Do you like that? But you know why I think you don't like it? Because it's not done properly. Like, look, if they were to gender swap Omni-Man and they made Omni-Man into Omni-Woman, would you, huh? I think it would be an improvement, chat. I think it would be great. Especially like this scene right here. They generally do not understand why people don't like gender swapping. And I thought about it. And the reason is that if they were to actually gender swap and make the character feminine, people wouldn't complain. But the reason they complain is that they gender swap and the character still acts the same. Like, there's not it's like a cosmetic change. It's the ideology that, like, being a man or a woman is just purely cosmetic. There's nothing else to it. The concept of motherhood, of sensuality, like, they don't exist. It's just like, it's like putting on a different layer of clothing. Like, you put on your punk clothes, and you symbolize that you're punk. But at any point, you can put your business suit, and it's just, it's as simple as fashion. Like, it literally doesn't add anything to the story. It doesn't add anything to the... Like, if it was to actually add stuff, yeah, I would love to see gender swaps happening more often. And they used to, by the way. Like, I remember when I was a kid, you had Xena and Hercules and shit, and they had, like, episodes where they actually met themselves for, like, an alternative universe, and you had, like, a female Hercules, or you had, like, a Xena, a man... And it was like a one-off episode, but they actually like behaved as their actual counterpart, and it made it for an interesting story. What is woke ideology? Donald Trump described it very well. I would say it was the best description. So any ideology that judges people based on their inherent characteristics and considers that the nation state is evil. That is woke ideology. See, many people think that you can't define it. Yes, I can. Yeah, no, it's very easy, right? So if you judge people based on their identity and you're assigning political thinking, it's like you're saying, okay, this person is gay, so therefore they must be socialist. I will tell you, like, exactly how they're doing it. They're not even assigning, like, a politics, because, like, even a racist, like, if you have a racist person who is a member of the Triple K, right? And he will have, like, certain opinions about black people. If he actually meets a black person that subverts his stereotype, he will say, yeah, I still believe the bad things, but, like, this one is different, right? So, like, even a racist person, like a traditional racist, is willing to admit that there are exceptions to his stereotype. When you look at the woke person, and he sees someone like, I don't know, Kanye West, right? So he sees a person like Kanye West, who is now supporting Donald Trump and everything. They will not say that, well, it's an exception, right? Like, because they believe, no, like, all black people support Black Lives Matter, they're pro-Democrat, blah, blah, blah. But when they see an exception, they do not say, well, yeah, like, the black people still support Democrats and they're not pro-Black Lives Matter, but this guy is different. No, they will say, he has been brainwashed. He has been, like, something is wrong with him. He has gotten mentally ill. Like they will try to justify the exception, not as in that they are wrong about their ideology and that there are people that don't think like that. No, they will try to justify the exception as if it's, like, a problem with the exception, right? Like feminists, when they will see a woman that comes out, like the girl who played Penny in Big Bang Theory, And she's basically saying, well, I'm not a feminist. I do not think that there is a patriarchy holding me down. I actually like to cook for my husband. I enjoy, like I make a lot of money and I also enjoy going home and cooking for him. They will say, oh, she's got internalized misogyny. Like the patriarchy is so strong that they actually enter this person's subconsciousness. And she, she's not thinking her own thoughts. She's being manipulated. Like, that is what the woke ideology does. Like, they flat out refuse to believe that people are anything besides their identities. Even when you have, like, a person that's, like, beyond the shadow of a doubt. Like, yeah, like, this particular individual does not fit the mold that we created for him. Like, this is a black person like the Hodge twins, right? These are two black individuals that are Republicans. They do not support leftist causes. They are advocate for right-wing thing. They will say, no, they got internalized racism or some shit. They've been manipulated. They're doing it as a grift. They're doing it. They're not. They cannot compute the fact that such individuals can exist, right? So that is like one thing for woke ideology to have, to believe that every single person is their identity and nothing more. And the second thing is to believe that the nation state is evil. Like, you also believe that, okay, the United States is the systemically racist, oppressive, tyrannical government that oppresses its citizens, like, nothing said he was wrong more than him losing $2 billion a day. I'm not talking about if he was right or not, right? Like, this is not my point. My point is that when you deal with someone like he, like if I was to be asked, like, what do you think about Kenny Yee? I would think like, okay, well, Kenny Yee is a person that's a right-winger. He's going to vote right, okay? I don't care if it's, like we're not talking about if his ideas are right or not. We're not talking about anything like that. We're just saying, is he a right-winger or not? It's like, yeah, he's a black person that's going to vote Republican. Or at least vote independent. Like he's not a left-leaning person. He doesn't support leftist causes, blah, 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 blah. The left doesn't agree to that. They will immediately go after the fact, saying, well, actually, he must be mentally ill. And they actually called him that. Let's see. How much time do we got left, chat? We got 8 more minutes to be together. He is mentally ill, unironically. Well, probably, but I genuinely don't know. I mean, I do not know the man to put a diagnosis. Like, you can have a person that's sane of mind and says crazy stuff. Like, this is another thing, right? Just because someone says crazy stuff doesn't mean they're mentally ill. And just because someone is mentally ill doesn't mean that they always say crazy stuff. In the case of Amos C, I don't know. Sorry, not Amos C, Kanye West. Amos C is probably actually mentally ill. Anyway. He is diagnosed. Oh, don't start me with the diagnosis. Don't fucking start me with the diagnosis. Okay, I will tell you something that only someone who studied medicine can tell you, right? So I'll tell you something as a med student. After going to psychiatry and studying it, I do not believe that there is a single person on earth that can go to a psychiatric ward and get like a talk with the psychiatrist and not be diagnosed with some shit. Like the concept of normal doesn't exist, right? So not a psychiatrist, sorry. A psychologist. A psychologist. Like, if you are to go now, like, you can make this experiment if you don't believe me. I'm willing to change my mind, okay? Like if you manage to prove me wrong, I will say, holy shit, okay, I'm never going to advocate for this again because it's clearly wrong. And all I need is one person. I don't need more than one, just one. To go to a psychologist, tell them your problems, and not get diagnosed with something. Okay? And the reason for it is that the business incentivizes them diagnosing you with shit. Because that's how they make money. Right? Like you go to them, they find something wrong with you so that you can keep going to them and give them cash. It's not rocket science. It's not, right? Like, it's in their interest. If I was a psychologist, I would do the fucking same. It's not a conspiracy or anything. People do what they need to make more cash. And if they want to make cash, they have to do this, right? So basically, what you should do, and I know like a lot of people do not agree with me on this, but what you should do if you actually have like depression or issues that would require you to go to a psychologist, go to a man of faith. I don't fucking care what religion. Pick whatever religion you want. Don't like Christianity? Don't go to a Christian. Go to a rabbi. Go to an imam. Okay? The reason I am telling you to do this is because the priest has seen so many other people with other problems, and on top of that, he also has an education. Like a lot of leftists try to ignore the fact that priests are actually educated. They do go to a university. They do study for 4 years. And what they study is the philosophy of Christianity. And the philosophy of Christianity is deeply rooted in Stoicism. And Stoicism is a very good philosophy that was made by the ancient Greeks. And they have really great advice for the way you need to behave in order to not only be in control of your life and emotions, but to have a happy and fulfilling life. So, even if you don't believe in God, and you don't believe in Jesus, that's fine. Like, you're not going to the priest in order to believe in God and Jesus. You're going to him to get some advice, okay? Like you would get from any other human. Why is a priest better than a psychologist? Because the psychologist gets paid every single time you visit him. The priest gets money from donations from the church. He doesn't get paid for listening to you rambling. He wants you to stop rambling. So he wants you to fix your problem so you don't go to him. He wants you to go to him happy. He wants you to go to him and donate money to his church. Okay? That's the reason. The leftist justification is why I don't like liberalism. Liberalism has been so harmful that when you wake up, you feel renewed because of that grievous weight has been removed and you feel more happy. I don't think so. Like most liberals that I know are very unhappy, man. And kind of ironically, they're some of the most unhappy people that I've ever met. Christianity is a slave religion. Stoicism is the opposite of that. I'm not saying that Christianity is Stoicism. I'm saying that the foundations of Christianity is Stoicism. Okay? Like, if you want to read about Stoicism and philosophy of Stoicism, you can do that. Christianity builds up on stuff. Like there are a lot of things that, for example, you have in the Bible, which tells you, do not try to change the things that are outside of your realm of possibility, right? Like, this is Stoicism. So basically what Stoicism tells you, right? There are a lot of people that I saw at my university who were panicking before an exam, right? So you have an exam, a difficult exam, that you study for the entire semester, and you know that if you fail, you may flunk the university. So there's a lot of stress involved, right? And a lot of people, colleagues of mine, couldn't sleep the night before the exam. And then they would go to the exam without sleeping, and they would underperform because they basically kept themselves awake for more than 24 hours, right? So it was detrimental for them. And my point was, look, in order to pass an exam, there are things you can do. Obviously, you have to study, right? So that is when you can actually influence stuff. Like during the semester, you go to the courses, you study, you do not go to nightclubs, you do not go with the ushi-kushi beautiful waifu that invites you out. You stay there and you fucking study. You study as much as you can. But the night before the exam, you need to understand that nothing you can do at that point is going to change how much you've studied up until then. Like, you're not going to start reading the book again. You're not going to memorize more, right? So basically, you need to understand that it's out of your hands now, and you stop thinking about it. And you go to bed and you stop thinking about it, and then you go relax the next day. And this is what Stoicism tells you. It's like the things that you can influence, you should be concerned about them. You should try to make a difference. But the things that are outside of your concern, you shouldn't think about them. So for instance, if you're in an airport and your plane is late because of the weather, you shouldn't think about that. You shouldn't worry about it, because like worrying about it doesn't make the plane go faster. It doesn't make the weather go away. If your plane is going to be late, it's going to be late. What you should do instead is you should think about, okay, well, if the plane doesn't arrive, what do I do then? And you're thinking, okay, so maybe I'm in a different country. Well, if the plane doesn't arrive, am I allowed to leave the airport? If I'm allowed to leave the airport, then do I have the money to get accommodations? To wait until the next flight? Okay? And then when that happens and the plane doesn't arrive, you already have a plan. You're going to be calm. Sure, you're going to be upset about it, I mean, right? But you're not going to be despairing over the fact that it happened. Right? Because it's not in your control. You don't control the weather. You couldn't predict this. You did your best. I mean, technically you can predict this. You can say, okay, so I need to change my plane 3 times. The chance of one flight being late is high, so I should have some extra money in case something bad happens. Like, you should be able to predict for this. But that's what Stoicism teaches, right? A person that's not a Stoic is going to freak out. I saw viral TikTok videos with people throwing a fit at the airport and screaming and banging and yelling. It's like, what are you accomplishing, right? You're hurting yourself. You're making a mockery of yourself. Other people are laughing at you. You're a fucking buffoon and a clown. And your flight is still late. You're upset by it, but you're not consumed by it. It's a very good way of putting it, yes. So a lot of Christianity is actually telling you this stuff, right? Like, there are quotes in the Bible that if you want, I can go look. But it actually says, you know, like, the things that are not in your hand are not in our hand, and that is it, right? So it does have, like, a lot of Stoic teachings rooted in the Bible. And I wouldn't claim that Christianity is a slave ideology. I mean, holy shit. If that is the case, I mean, look at woke ideology. Look at Islam. I mean, those are ideologies that are actually enslaving people. Anyway, right? Thank you guys for watching. I need to upload my videos on my main channel and secondary one. And I will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow, yeah. And tomorrow is also the Archcast, so I'll see you there.